You can see this old bog cottage now in Torbog, County Westmeath. Well, I first started going there. An old bog man lived in there. Jack Donohoe was his name. And I first started going to see him in 1970 when I was 10 or 11 year old. And Jack was one of them men now. He was more educated now. Come back to me. I'm back again. He was more educated. I don't think he could read or write, if I remember properly, but there was nothing he didn't know about the land. I'll tell you a story and how our ancestors and us as Irish people were so closely connected. The far side of that bog, Torbog, about maybe 5 miles across, there's another parish called Donohoe. And I used to hear me granny's stories. My granny Daly was from Donohoe, and I used to hear the story about also my grandfather's father's brother, Patrick Fury, was a tenant farmer in Donohoe in 1847, the time of the famine. And I was fascinated with these stories about you could still see everything sticking up out of the ground. The old farms they had, the old houses they lived in were still sticking up out of the ground. And the stories that they could attach to them. And I used to cross the bog and I'd heard how Darby Daly, the landlord, I'll show you now, the landlord, there's the valuation of tenements, parish of Donohoe, 1847 to 1864, Captain Rush, Richard Graham. And there was the landlords, Robert Smith. Joseph North, that's the book there. There was a fella called Darby Daly, who would have been, there's a Eugene Daly now. Same Robert Smith. Land. 1 acre, 2 perch, and 30 roots, and he was paying £1 a year for that. And buildings, £4.50 in 1847. Where did these poor people get that money during the time of the famine? There's Patrick Fury, that's my great-grandfather's brother. And all these names, Simon Weir, Robert Bagnall, Timothy Edward Lee, all these people are still here today. But anyway, getting back to the story, what this crack was, I'd go to the Dangan Crossroads, because I felt one of these Dalys, Darby Daly, in 1849, that Reverend Joseph North, it was his father, because this is 25 years later, it was his father who was a very covetous man, and he took Darby Daly's land. Said he never paid the rent, but he did pay the rent on it. And it was the best farm of land in Donohoe, and he wanted it for himself. And didn't Darby Daly set up an ambush. And at the Dangan Crossroads, where his house is, it's still there today. And he sent in a messenger on the Sunday morning when all his wife and children were gone to Mass. Well, not Mass, they were Protestants, they went to the Protestant church, and told him that his cattle broke out on the road. And wasn't Darby Daly waiting for him in the bushes and shot him through the head with a musket rifle. And they had horses at safe houses the whole way down to what we'd call Cove in Cork, but I think in them days it was called Queenstown, when the old Queen old Victoria was ruling Ireland, and they got him on a ship and they had the Brotherhood, it would have been at the time, they set him up with a big farm of land in America. And because I used to go to the crossroads where he shot him, and I loved the night. I used to be out at the night looking. Oh, he'd bump into fairies and ghosts that were everywhere, walking out. Oh, lads often stopped me in the middle of the bog, coming out of the forestry, and I knew that they weren't from about. Oh, did I ask you what you were doing? Just the same as if a lad, you bumped into a strange lad in the daytime and you were on his land. Oh, and I used to love it, but Jack Donohoe said to me one night, he said, come down to me, he said, and I'm going to chat to you. And we sat at the fire, the two of us in Jack's old house. He says, you're going down to that crossroads, he said, and I'll tell you what you're doing. He showed me he'd wild garlic growing out the door. He says, you don't realise, but he says, the spirits of, there's people buried at the crossroads for thousands of years, he said. Madmen, murderers, he said. Rapists, all the suicides, everything. They hung them and buried them at the crossroads because they believed that their spirits, when their spirits rose up, that they would get confused and they wouldn't know their way back to the parish. He says, but you're going down there at night, Fury, he said, and they're following you out, the spirits, and they're coming to my place here, he said, and you're going to have to cut it out. And he'd the wild garlic growing. He reckoned he used to eat the garlic to get rid of these spirits. That's shocking. Oh, and he was deadly serious, and he'd make me sit at the fire listening to the wind coming down the chimney. He says, I'm telling you, you keep listening to that. But look at the money. Oh, Lord, it was a great thing that Darby Daly shot him. And they never got him. They never got him. He was they sent a clerk of the court out to take a statement from them. They knew where he was in America and everything. And he said, yes, I shot him, he said, and I don't regret one bit, he said. Look at this Richard Graham. He said, I have a great life now. Richard Graham, Robert Smith. House, offices and land. 101 acres, 3 roots and something, 38 something. £51, 5 shillings. Buildings, £2, 16 shillings. £51. Where were they getting this money off 100 acres of land and at their own land in 1847? I'm telling you, this is why. See, you think there's things we must come to terms with the past, but we must never forget. Look what they done to all them poor people, and the money they were taking off them. £1, 15 shillings, £9, 5 shillings, £7, £20, 15 shillings, £28, 5 shillings. It was all wrong. It was all wrong, lads.